37% of teenage girls between 13 and 15 were exposed to unwanted nudity in a week on Instagram. You knew about it. Who did you fire?
Senator, I don't think that's...
Who did you fire?
I'm not going to answer that.
Because you didn't fire anybody, right?
Accusations.
Did you and everyone else at SNAP really fail to see that the platform was a perfect tool for sexual predators?
Anguish.
I was sexually exploited on Facebook.
I was sexually exploited on Instagram.
And an apology.
Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures.
Grilled for almost 4 hours, Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg, alongside the CEOs of X, Snapchat, TikTok and Discord, accused of facilitating online child sexual exploitation.
I know you don't mean it to be so, but you have blood on your hands. You have a product that's killing people.
The Senate hearing, just the latest in a long line of attempts to pass new laws that will stamp out child abuse material online.
There's not one law in the book because you oppose everything we do, and you can't be sued. That has to stop, folks.
The tech bosses were at pains to tout existing safety tools on their platform and the industry-wide efforts they're taking to protect children.
Our job is making sure that we build industry-leading tools
to make money,
take it off the services,
to make money,
and to build.
While behind them, grieving parents held up pictures of their children who they say died as a result of social media.
Mr. Zuckerberg, why should your company not be sued for this?
This, the 8th time Zuckerberg has testified.
Instagram also displayed the following warning screen to individuals who were searching for child abuse material. You gave users 2 choices: get resources or see results anyway. Mr. Zuckerberg, what the hell were you thinking?
But after years of debate and railing against big tech, still no bills to hold the platforms to account have passed.
The reason they haven't passed is because of the power of your company. So let's be really, really clear about that.
My job is building the best tools that we can to keep our community safe.
Well, you're failing at that.
Well, Senator, we're doing an industry-leading effort. We build AI tools
nonsense. Your product is killing people. Will you personally commit to compensating the victims? You're a billionaire.
These are
with your money. Will you set up a victims compensation fund with your money, the money you made on these families sitting behind you? Yes or no?
Stephen Shearer is the former Facebook CEO for Australia and New Zealand. He's been good enough to share his thoughts with us tonight. Stephen, what did you make of the tech CEO's performances?
It was a real moment to behold. It wasn't it? Every couple of years we get these guys that get dragged in front of Congress, and there was that really startling moment where Mark stood up and had to turn to the folks behind him, and I think that was probably the signature moment of the whole hearing. And is this going to change things? Who knows? But it was a big moment, I think, in the history of big tech in Washington.
Stephen, I've seen a lot of congressional hearings over the years. You've seen a lot of Mark Zuckerberg over the years. I just wonder how awkward this would have been for him to turn around, to face those people and to say what he did.
Yeah, it was a startling moment. And I'm sure that he was well coached on probably not to say something too, hey, this is all my fault. But I think you also saw 2 sides of Mark. There is a humanity there. He's a real human being. He's a nice guy in many ways, and he does want to do good in the world. But on the other hand, I think you saw finally being faced with real individuals that have really been drastically affected by the effects of social media, rather than just an abstraction. There's an old saying in the Soviet Union, one death is a tragedy, but 1 million deaths is a statistic. And I think in that case, Mark was facing these were real people standing just meters from him, and I think it was a real emotional moment for him, and I'm sure it was a huge moment for for Facebook in general.
Do you think we'll see compensation come out of this?
Well, when he was asked the compensation question, you saw Mark duck that question, and I'm sure he was advised to duck that question. Look, I think that's a Pandora's box for Facebook. Where does that end? But clearly, in my view, there is a gap between the damage that's done and the benefits or the compensation that these families get. So lawmakers can change the way things work, right? They can yell at these tech CEOs all they want, but the real power they have is to make the laws. So if they want to see things change, go change the laws and make them accountable.
How practical is it, though, for these companies to take action? Like the volume of stuff that goes on their social media platforms, is there any practical solution to this problem?
Well, when you look at the scale of the platforms like Facebook, there's billions of pieces of content that are posted every day. All that content needs to be reviewed by something or somebody. Most of it is reviewed not by human beings, it's reviewed by machines, by AI. Now we've got AI coming into the mix, creating some of that content, as we well know, things like deep fakes. And so now the AI's ability to make the content is outstripping the AI's ability to detect the content. And that gap, again, is widening as well. Now, Facebook tries to fill that gap with humans as moderators, thousands of people actually looking at content that the AI can't decide on. But that has its own ethical and kind of mental health problems as well. There's a lot of horrible content that humans then have to look at. So it is a big problem, and it's not being solved sufficiently by the guardrails that social media put up. One of the arguments I've always said about social media is that we created a monster that we can't fully control. And I think that's a bad place for us to be. And with the addition of these AI tools that are coming out now, and I'm a big believer in AI, I run an AI business, but I think the problem is going to become even worse as long as we're living in this world where we kind of let 1,000 followers bloom and then we see what the problems are later.
Stephen, we'll see if this is a turning point. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.